get to the money. Gotta get to the money. Early morning, so you know that I'm on it. So you know that I'm on it. Gotta make sure that my family straight. Gotta make sure that the kids in there. Gotta make sure that the bills is paid. And then let's get to the money. Get to the money. Early morning, so you know that I'm on it. And gotta make sure that my family straight. Gotta make sure that the kids in there. Gotta make sure that the bills is paid. And then let's get to the money. Get to the money.
Welcome to another episode of Drinking After Dark, a podcast where we discuss random topics while having a few drinks. I'm your host, Darius, and as always, drink responsibly. And y'all make sure y'all follow Drinking After Dark podcast on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and y'all make sure y'all like and subscribe to Drinking After Dark podcast YouTube channel. Tonight, usually I drink my Crown Royal Vanilla mixed with Dr. Pepper and cream soda, but I'm just going to take it easy tonight. I'm just going to drink on water. That's what I'm drinking on tonight. So, but I will be back on it next week. I have a great episode for you tonight. Before we get started, I got to give a shout out to my sponsor, Joe Shakinab at shakinab.com. Go visit shakinab.com for services, monthly updates, and contact information. Once again, visit shakinab.com, promoting leadership and scholarship. So, man, let's go and get right into it, man. I know a lot of you are excited like I am. Football is back. Yes, I know right now we've been watching college football. I've seen a couple of games, and I'm going to tell you right now, some teams I'm impressed with. Some teams I'm not impressed with, not just yet, because it's based on the competition, right? So, we're going to get into the college football, man. We're going to get into the NFL because, the season is about to start. So let's go ahead and jump right into the college football aspect of it. So if you like me, who's into sports, I love football. I love basketball. Those are the two sports that I watch a lot, right? As well as boxing and MMA. So college football season is back. NFL season is back as well. Let's get into the college. Now, I've watched a few games, right? But I'm gonna start out with this, right? I just gotta give a shout out to ESPN for giving, HBCUs a platform to, really showcase their talent. Because at first they really wasn't doing it. If they did, it was in the very beginning, and it just like, here y'all go. But now you start seeing it's like some real players on these HBCUs. I've seen Tennessee State play. I've seen Jackson State play, obviously. And I'm gonna tell you, there's some teams that I'm impressed with. There's some teams I'm definitely impressed with. So I'm just so happy. I'm so excited. I can't even talk straight because I'm so excited that football is back. But with that being said, let's talk about some of the games that happened this past weekend. One of my favorite games that I enjoyed watching was West Virginia and Pittsburgh. That game came down to the wire. I mean, it was, for anybody who knows, that's like a rivalry game for those two schools. And I'm going to be real with you. I was very impressed. All right. So just to back up a little bit, anybody who's not really in tune to college football and how college football operates, a lot of times, big schools will play big schools, right? And sometimes you have like the big schools that will play the smaller schools, right? That's pretty much like a money game for the smaller schools, right? And college football, they don't have a preseason. So first game of the season, usually you'll see a whole lot of penalties and, all that stuff, miscommunication and all that first game of the season because they don't have a preseason. So this is their real action. So that's why you have a lot of programs that will play against the smaller schools and use that as like, I guess, like preseason, to work out their work out all the kinks and things like that, work on the communication and the drills and things like that, knowing that I'm not really impressed when a big time school going against a small time school because we all know it's going to be a blowout. We all know what this game is about. I don't know why people even tune in. I mean, I guess because it's football is back, people are tuning in. But I don't really get impressed with the big schools going against the small schools. But the one game that I was definitely impressed about over the weekend, this past weekend, was West Virginia and Pittsburgh, because you got two schools, powerhouse schools, going head to head. It came down to the when I say it came down to the wire, it came down to really the last possession, right? And it was a great game. I enjoyed it. I think that's what college football should do, right? I understand, you got the small schools who play against these big schools because it help raise money for their programs and things like that. But at the same time, man, it's like how you really being tested. Get what I'm saying? And some of these small schools could play. Like I'm gonna go to an example, a little later on, but some of these small schools can play. And sometimes you gotta be careful because it could be a trap game, because a lot of the times, especially the first game of the season, you have these small schools coming to like these big school programs and they beat them. Like first game of the season, it's like it's a shocker, right? It's a shocker, and it's like, wow. As a matter of fact, I think it was one that happened too. I think it was Old Dominion versus Virginia Tech. Old Dominion is a smaller school. Virginia Tech, obviously, big time program, ACC. So yeah, I think that was the shocker of the weekend. But I'm starting to really think that I don't see any more shockers like that. Well, it's starting. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It doesn't shock me if a small school beat a big time school, right? Because you got a lot of these players who were recruited by these big time schools, or they transferred in. They transferred in from they transferred in from the big time schools, and they're on the field. They playing because they probably didn't get that type of playing time at these schools. So they just like, hey, in order for me to get some playing time, maybe even get noticed, let me go transfer to this school and get some playing time. But that game to me, obviously, you had some great games. I think North Carolina Appalachian State was a very high scoring game. If you're a fan of football, you look at that game like, okay, that's not good football, but you understand because it's the first game of the season and everything is not going to work the way you want it to right off the bat. So I'll just say, if you're a fan of a lot of these teams out here, and some schools have already played twice. I know if you're in the FCS, some of those schools have played twice, and some FBS teams have played twice already. But usually, a lot of them, this is their first game in the season. So, when I watch it, I'm not gonna get upset of like some like the stupid penalties, like the false starts. You might have some communication issues on the secondary, things like that, or even between the receiver and the quarterback. I don't look at stuff like that because, like I said, they don't have a preseason, so they're gonna have some mistakes along the way. And with those mistakes, that's when the coaches, they're gonna be a little bit more lenient and everything like that. But as the time goes on, they expect you to correct those mistakes. But I'm gonna tell you, some teams I probably wasn't impressed with, even though they have blowout wins. I'm gonna tell you some of the teams I'm not impressed with. One team out of the SEC from my home state, Tennessee. Tennessee, I'm not really impressed. They played against Ball State, and even though they blew them out, I saw issues. I saw so many issues. Ball State, they have a good program. They have a good program. They have guys who can play football. And I seen them run the ball, the Tennessee. They're running the ball. They are also They were throwing the ball. The receivers were getting open. They were beating their man. And I'm thinking to myself, once Tennessee gets in the SEC play, because they're in the SEC, you think about Alabama, you're thinking about Auburn, you're thinking about Ole Miss, you're thinking about Texas A&M, Arkansas, who else? Florida, just a name. We could say Vanderbilt, but we all know if you're a fan of the SEC, especially SEC football, you don't really look at Vanderbilt as a football powerhouse compared to like their other sports, like baseball, obviously. One of the best baseball teams in the country. Basketball always compete every year. But when they get into SEC play, you're thinking to myself, if Ball State was doing that against y'all, what's going to happen when you start facing, your conference opponents? So that's one team I'm gonna say I wasn't impressed with. And Tennessee has lost against a smaller school before. A few years ago, they lost to Georgia State, which this past weekend they played against an SEC opponent, South Carolina. And I'm telling you right now, Georgia State has a team. I'm impressed with Georgia State. But, when it comes to, I forgot, South Carolina, also SEC, also with Kentucky and Missouri. Of course, they're going to get some more teams over in a couple of years. So I just think that for me, that's like one team I wasn't impressed with. Of course, Alabama's ranked number 1 right now. They played some small school. Pretty sure you can already figure that out. But yeah, it's some players out there that we probably need to take a look at. I'm not gonna say who we should take a look at first, because it's still early on. We don't know how the season gonna play out. In a few weeks, I will come back after I've seen some more college football, and I'll give you my players to watch. But I always ask this question: if you're a college football fan, I want y'all to comment below, give me your answers. When it comes to the Heisman Trophy, right? I always felt like the Heisman Trophy should be renamed something else, because you could have a defensive guy who should be in the Heisman Trophy race, and they might become a finalist, but they're not going to win because they're always going to pick a quarterback. They're going to pick a running back. And I just feel like if that's the case, just give it to the best player in college football, regardless of position. The last defensive player to win Heisman Trophy was Charles Woodson. So he was primarily a defender. Also, he was a punt returner. But he was the last guy to defensive player, primarily play defense, to win the Heisman Trophy. And I'm just thinking, like, when it comes to awards, even though they have all these awards, we all know the Heisman Trophy is the most prestigious award in college football. I just want to know, if a defensive player is dominating on one of the top teams in the country, should he be like the front runner for the Heisman Trophy? I mean, we all know we know quarterback, running back, glitz and glamour, whatever, right? And a lot of those guys, when they get to the next level, we know how that story goes. So just comment below. Tell me what y'all think. Do you think that they should really start considering defensive players as like on the same level as offensive players, especially if they're dominating the football game, right? But let's get back to college football in terms of the teams and conferences. Obviously, me being from Tennessee, I'm an SEC guy. So we all know the SEC most likely is the best conference in football. It's basically like the minor leagues in the NFL. If you know anything about it, they're that way. But I also got to say this: Ohio State, I'm telling you, man, they're a force to be reckoned with. I think Ohio State is going to be a force to be reckoned with. I think they're going to give Alabama the run of their money. Also, too, I won't be surprised if they make it to the national championship and win. I think they have that type of talent. But obviously, every year Alabama's going to be the favorite. But don't mean that somebody can't come along and shake things up. You never know. So that's what's the beauty about college football, that every game counts, and you're gonna see a lot of great talent, some great plays, and some guys that you probably never heard of that you're gonna say, oh, that guy's gonna be on the next level. So I'm excited, but I'm telling you right now, in a couple of weeks, I'm gonna try to bring some friends on. We're gonna talk a little bit more about college football, so you guys can hear from others and get differences of opinions. So just stay tuned for that. But just what I've seen so far, there's some teams out there that you could see that they are going to make some noise, whether it's on the FBS level or the FCS level. I would give you an example, right? On the FCS level, my alma mater is Austin Peay State University, right? I'm a graduate of Austin Peay. I support Austin Peay. And they played 2 games already. The first game, they lost by a couple of possessions, right? But they competed. So you look, and it was the first game of the season. Somebody got to win, somebody got to lose. But you're looking how this team is going to be. So pretty much after that first game, you're trying to forecast what this team is going to be. And they're in a new conference too this year. So it's going to be a little different. But I think in the FCS, I think Austin Peay is going to be a force to be reckoned with. And I'm going to tell you right now, Jackson State. I look at Jackson State and Tennessee State. I'm going to say it right now. Deion Sanders, head coach of Jackson State. Eddie George, y'all know, the great running back, former Heisman Trophy winner at Ohio State. Like I said, I'm from Tennessee. He will always be a Tennessee Titan. So you talking about a guy with over 10,000 career yards. Basically, it's turning that program around. I actually watched them play this past week as well, and I'm gonna tell you, I'm impressed. What they have going on right now. So, those are a couple of teams that I'm looking at to say, all right, these teams could be they could be reckoned with in the FCS. But obviously, we know the king of the FCS is North Dakota State. And I'm gonna tell y'all right now, when you go listen to other podcasts that talk college football, they won't talk about the FCS. It's all about the FBS. And I'm gonna tell you something. I'm gonna tell you something right now. Some of these FCS teams can compete with some of these FBS teams. It might not be the creme de la creme of FBS, but when we're talking about like mid-majors, they can compete with them. So, just stay tuned for that. Just stay tuned for that, man. I'm telling you, nothing should shock you anymore. It'll be a shock to say, I'll give you an example. So later on in this season, Alabama's going to play my school, Austin Peay State University. Let's just say for giggles, Austin Peay beats Alabama in Alabama. That would be like the upset of so far the decade, right? Now, I'm going to tell you, it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. We all know what this is about. Like I said, it's a money game for some of these schools. Austin Peay will just have to be one of them. And, if they put up some points, you say, hey, they put up some points. But you're not going to put your money on Austin Peay to win. I love my school, but I also understand who you're going against. So, but that's just, speaking hypothetically, stuff like that. So I just think that, this whole season, I think we should not be shocked about what's going to happen in this season, right? And we don't know who's going to rise up, because a lot of these sports writers and everything, the media, they will already say, okay, this dude is already a front runner for the Heisman Trophy. And it's like, dang, you're not giving anybody else a chance. Why? Because this guy plays quarterback, or this guy plays running back. What about this defensive end over here? What about this safety over here? What about this corner over here? You see what I'm saying? Hell, even you got wide receivers, You know, some wide receivers have won Heisman trophies. So it's like I said, it's going to be very interesting to see. Comment below which team I should pay attention to, take a look at, and in a couple of weeks I will give you my assessment of everything so far. It's just only a couple of games in, so I can't really tell you how exactly I will feel just yet. But I am excited that like I said, football season is back. No college, and now let's move over to the pros because one thing about the NFL, it's not as predictable as when it comes to college football, right? College football, you pretty much know who's going to be in that playoff format, who's going to be in the playoffs, right? The college football playoffs. When it comes to the NFL, you know who the best teams are, but then you always have that one team that comes out of nowhere and they shake things up. And that's why I'm looking forward to the NFL. Again, if you paid attention to this platform, y'all know I'm a huge Steelers fan. Mike Tomlin, he's one of the best coaches that's in the NFL right now. Never had a losing season. So he's a great coach, a Super Bowl winning coach. I think it's going to come down to that quarterback play. I think that quarterback play, their running game, I think that's what's going to come down to. But they're in a tough conference. They're in a tough conference with Cincinnati. Cincinnati, they're coming. I like Cincinnati squad. I'm not going to sit there and lie about it. I like their squad. Cleveland, I'm going to be honest with you. I'm not too worried about them. They got too much drama going on. Baltimore, I'm always worried about Baltimore. If that division with the two Ohio teams, Cleveland and Cincinnati, Pittsburgh, Baltimore. We all know Pittsburgh and Baltimore. That's a fight. That's a fight, and it's going. If I have to say right now who's the favorite out of that division, I would say Cincinnati based on what they did last year. But I don't have Cleveland going far at all. But I'm not going to be surprised if Pittsburgh or Baltimore are like first, second place in that division. There's only 4 teams, but still. But Tampa Bay, a lot of people are high on Tampa Bay. Tom Brady is back again. We don't know when he's going to retire. I won't be shocked if he decides to play until he's 50. So we don't know about that. Of course, the LA Rams, defending Super Bowl champions, best defensive player in the world. I think me personally, they have the best player in football, Aaron Donald. Who else is out there? I'm gonna tell you who's a team I think I'm gonna be very interesting to really watch. I'm very interested in watching. I'm gonna look at the Miami Dolphins. I'm gonna look at them, and I think that's a team nobody's really talking about. I know Tua, hasn't really got there yet. So I'm really looking forward to, especially with the addition of Tyreek Hill. I'm looking at, can Tua now take his game to a whole nother level? Also, to the Arizona Cardinals, Kyler Murray. We all know there's been some stuff going on with him in terms of being prepared, right, for games. So we'll see how that turns out. See how Arizona reacts this season. Also, to Green Bay. I think Green Bay will still be in contention, for not only a conference game, but also a Super Bowl. So I'm looking forward to that. But I'm going to tell you right now, and I'm going to pick a couple of teams. Well, a team from the AFC and a team from the NFC. When it comes to the AFC, again, like I said, I am a huge Steelers fan. But I think the one team that I believe that can get to a Super Bowl, and they're going to have to ride this guy, is the Titans. I think Derrick Henry, we all know, best running back in the NFL. he stays healthy, I think the Titans are going to be a problem. He stays healthy, Titans going to be a problem. And it doesn't matter who their quarterback is. That's the thing. It doesn't matter who their quarterback is, as long as you got that monster in the backfield. If you got Derrick Henry, I'm gonna tell you right now, you got a great chance going to the Super Bowl, right? Or at least get to the AFC Championship game. So, which I'm gonna be honest with you, they could have gotten to the AFC Championship game, but the coaching staff made a mistake against the Bengals. People don't realize. I think the Titans were number 1 seed last year. There was some mistakes from the Titans coaching staff. So I'm gonna say leave it at that. All right. But I think when you have Derrick Henry back there, you have that rushing attack, their defense. I think they could go far. If they just get consistent, really good quarterback play, they'll be all right. Now from the NFC, who can I say from the NFC? I don't know. You got a lot of people who's putting some stock into Carolina. I don't know yet. I don't know about Carolina just yet. You know what? I'm gonna say this. I mentioned Arizona earlier. I mentioned the Cardinals earlier. I'm gonna say Arizona possibly could be a sleeper team in the NFC. I'm gonna mention them. I think, but again, it comes down to the quarterback. If Kyler Murray he rises to the occasion, I believe they could be the sleeper team in the NFC. Now, if you asking who's going to come out East Conference, who I believe is going to come out East Conference, for the NFC, it would be 2 teams. I would say it'll be the Rams or the Bucks, or it could be Green Bay. As long as Aaron Rodgers is there, they got a shot. But I think the 2 top teams will definitely have to be the Rams and the Buccaneers. I'm gonna give a slight edge to the Rams because they are the defending champions. They've been there. They have the experience now. They have the best player in all of football, Aaron Donald. So I'm gonna give them the edge. For the AFC, I would have to say Kansas City. I would have to say Kansas City right now, but I'm not gonna be surprised if somebody. It could be anybody, but I'm gonna say Kansas City right now. So to me, the 2 top teams will be Kansas City from the AFC and the LA Rams. All right, I gotta say the Rams. Because there's 2 teams in LA. I would say the Rams from the NFC. Those are my 2 favorites to get to the Super Bowl. But things can change. And we'll just have to wait and see. I know y'all, like me, y'all excited. I know I'm gonna talk a lot of trash to my friends this year. Well, not a lot, just a little bit, and stuff like that. But that's what football does, because you play once a week. So if your team loses, you have to deal with that pain for a whole week. Even in college football, same way, you got to deal with that pain for a whole week. But at least when they come back, if they get a win, you'll feel a little bit better about yourself. That's why I like about football. People and and here's the thing about football too. It's football itself is an event, right? You got to think about the tailgate. You got the hot dogs, burgers. If you eat pizza, you got pizza. You out there grilling, getting ready for the game. You got your face paint. You got the school colors on. Even if you're an alum of that school, you still have that school pride because you still cheer for that school. So that's what makes college football so great. And also the NFL, because, you're going to rock your favorite team, And speaking of that, speaking of NFL real quick, just one last point. I think sometimes you got to be real to see where your team is at, right? And a lot of times, you got some teams that they sell you hope, right? They sell you hope, and you're thinking like, oh yeah, this is our year. This is our year. I'm gonna be honest with you. If it hasn't been your year in a long time, it's not gonna be your year. If I'm taking shots at anybody, I'm sorry. But it's just but like again, it just comes down to the players, man. And by the end of the day, when it's in any sport, what's going to determine the champion is health. That's what's going to determine the champion. Are you healthy at the end of the season? If you are, you have a great chance of winning. It doesn't matter what sport you in. You could be football, baseball, basketball. It could be soccer. It could, even individual sports, right? Tennis, even golf, swimming. Are you healthy to continue on and push forward to that ultimate goal? So, I'm really looking forward, especially when it comes to my Steelers. I'm looking forward to see how this is going to turn out. I don't have great expectations of the team, but I expect them to have a good season. And, just got to build, and, we'll see where it goes. So I'm going to look forward to that. There might be times where I might be a little upset. I don't know if you guys are like me. When your team is playing terrible and everything like that, you're screaming at the TV and all of a sudden your voice is gone. That's how I am when it comes to my Steelers. So it doesn't matter who you cheer for. Every fan is like that. Whether you're a Cowboys fan, Eagles fan, you could be a Colts fan, Titans fan, Ravens fan, Chargers, Rams, Packers. It doesn't matter who your team is. You're going to, where I'm coming from with this. So, but yeah, I'm looking forward to it. And I hope you guys, for all the football fans out there, I hope you're looking forward to this as well. Again, like I said, in a couple of weeks, I would basically give you my take and how I see things right now. But until then, I'm just going to enjoy the season. I'm going to sit back. I might have me a drink or two, watch a couple of games, either by myself or with a couple of friends, man. And hey, I'm happy. I'm happy that the season is back, right? And I know you guys are too. Before we get out of here, I just got to let y'all know to check out the new episodes of Drinking After Dark every Friday. You can watch it on YouTube or you can listen on Anchor, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts. If you want to sponsor the podcast, if you want to sponsor Drinking After Dark podcast, please send a DM on Facebook or Instagram for details. Also, too, man, continue to support. Tell your friends and family to follow Drinking After Dark podcast on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. And once again, y'all make sure y'all like and subscribe to Drinking After Dark podcast YouTube channel. Until next time, everybody, this your boy Darius from Drinking After Dark podcast, and I'm out. Peace.
Gotta get to the money. Gotta get to the money. Early morning, so you know that I'm on it. So you know that I'm on it. Gotta make sure that my family straight. Gotta make sure that the kids in there. Gotta make sure that the bills is paid. And then let's get to the money. Get to the money. Early morning, so you know that I'm on it. And gotta make sure that my family straight. Gotta make sure that the kids in there. Gotta make sure that the bills is paid. And then let's get to the money. Get to the money.